So first of all, let me thank the organizers for giving this opportunity to IIT Roper and Swinburne to talk about the frontier materials. Myself, Abhishek, who is working in Metallurgical and Materials Engineering Department, and my colleague, Dr. Prabhat Agnihotri, who is heading the Mechanical Engineering Department, we will be talking about frontier materials. So I will give you examples, 3 examples in nutshell, which tells you about the present problem and near future problem, which is faced by the smart materials or the materials which are there in the world right now. So one problem which we are trying to address is the problem of energy, where we are trying to harvest using, for instance, fusion reactor. And there we have to deal with very high energy neutron, about which we do not have much experience of. Then second example is a jet turbine, which you have seen very recently that one of the models of Boeing Airlines 328 failed because of the dimensional instability in one of the blades. And there the temperature goes to 2000 degrees Celsius. So the problems are creep fatigue, and pitting because of corrosion, because sometimes the flights are in the harsh environment. And another example is of a space where, for instance, you have to use the only thing which can give you energy is the solar, and for that you need to capture a huge area, and that area we can do that by using the concept of origami. So it opens up like an umbrella, and so putting the thing in the space is easier. So with these 3 examples, what you can see is that not only materials are going to provide the solution, but you have to also put it in accord with certain technology like origami, or mixing it with different types of materials. So if we look at nature, how it works, it checks all the probability, and then it asks each probability that whether that can survive or not. If it cannot survive, then it asks whether it can evolve or not. And if that cannot evolve, then that probability is over, and the one which can evolve is again checked back for the survival. And this takes millions of years, sometimes thousands of years, for the nature to work out which probability is working, which is not. And today we can do it using machine learning and AI in fraction of seconds, sometimes in minutes, sometimes a little longer. But what we are not upfront so far is the self-correctiveness which is there in the nature. So if it cannot survive, it can evolve. There have been some work in the field of materials where self-healing materials have been manufactured, and a lot of examples have been taken from nature. For instance, bone can heal, and it uses the stimulus of pain as a trigger to start the healing process. Similar kind of thing can be replicated in the materials which are biomimic materials. And so having said that, now we have to see what do we ask from the materials for the application right now and in the near future. So we want the material to be cost effective. We want the material to perform in the extreme. So we want the material to perform at very high temperature, at very short tolerances. It should have very less defects and everything else. And most importantly, we are also asking for the material to be environmental friendly. If not friendly, it should not be on the other side. So the point I'm trying to make is that the one material cannot give you a solution. So people started doing alloying, but now alloying is also not enough. So because we need different applications from the material, so you have to combine different materials. And that combination itself is a problem, because there is a joining zone by whatever method you try to join it, and we have to work on that. One example I'll give you is a very cheap polymer which is used in sewage pipelines, and it's a reinforced polypropylene, and we increased the fracture resistance of this material by putting a very small thin interlayer of a very cheap polymer. Even if it is not very cheap, the amount of this thin interlayer is very small. So that does not increase the price much, and the fracture resistance increases 7 times. So it is cost effective. It has better properties. And if you can replace the interlayer by an environment friendly material, it is also environment friendly. So at IIT Roper, my lab works on this concept where we introduce material inhomogeneity. Material inhomogeneity is a discontinuity. It can be in the form of different material. It can be in the form of holes. It can be in the form of anything. So we can utilize defects also. Another example is we put a very thin interlayer of a very soft steel between two hard steels, and the fracture resistance increases 300 times. This work was done in Austrian Academy of Sciences. So we have also worked on, and we can also accurately predict to what angle you can put this material inhomogeneity, and whether it or not it should be broken. So we can optimize the property, and we can define that where and how do you place the material inhomogeneity so that you can utilize it better. The thing is, material inhomogeneity will be created whether or not you want it, either by manufacturing or by deformation. So it is the best that if we learn how to deal with it, how to cope with it. And that is all. And then I will just share that some of my colleagues are also working on frontier materials like metamaterials. Dr. Neha Sadana, Dr. Pratik Ray is working on material informatics and computational modeling and he also works on high energy temperature. We have recently been working in the healthcare and safety also in the time of COVID. So we have patented a completely mechanical continuous passive motion machine which can work in rural areas without supply of electricity. Dr. Neha has created negative pressure rooms so that you can put more COVID patients in one room. And this is the building where both mechanical and metallurgical engineering department is. This is the building. And now I invite Dr. Prabhat to take over, and I'll stop sharing. Thank you very much.